have communicated is that you can't say you're going to, address an issue when you deny that there is an issue.
Right.
And so VMI initially said there is no systemic racism, which I think was a little bit presumptive, and it was a little bit premature. Let the investigation determine the culture and climate at VMI and then address it. And so I think when they said that it didn't exist, I thought it was very dismissive of some of the cadets of color lived experiences, some of their accusations, some of their accounts. And we have to be careful about that because, like, let me be clear, I was one of the first women to ever graduate from VMI. And why I don't necessarily talk about, specific examples, it was egregious and it was so ubiquitous for me that I was pulled into my commandant's office and I was given an ultimatum. And I was told that you have two choices. It is so hostile for you and unsafe that we can either, you know, basically expel half of your cadre, or we can move you companies. There are no other options. And so, I, for one, have my experiences. And let me be clear though, without Virginia Military Institute, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So one of the reasons I've been able to, win my delegate race, flipping a seat from red to blue while pregnant with twins is because I graduated from VMI. One of the reasons that, I'm able to be a legislator as a delegate and pass legislation in a bipartisan fashion and work with Republicans is because I graduated from VMI. Being in those rooms where I'm the only woman or African American, and oftentimes in rooms where people don't want me there, um, and being able to navigate those things and have the highest standards of honor, integrity, and discipline, VMI did that, and I give it full credence and credit for it. However, we also have to acknowledge that we have to address the racism, xenophobia, homophobia. These are global conversations we're having. And we have to understand that VMI is not um, isolated from societal ills, right? It's not immune to societal ills. And, but let's be clear also that these incidences aren't unique to VMI and they're not isolated at VMI either. Other institutes of higher learning have these problems. So I think, I put forth a 7-point proposal. Some people are very excited about it. And I'm happy to report that VMI has adopted 6 of my 7 proposals that I put forward, such as core-wide diversity training, new um, recruiting new and diverse administrators, as they just did with this interim superintendent. Um, all of these things, hiring a chief diversity and equity officer. These are things that Forbes 500 companies are doing and the military is doing, so it's good enough for VMI. So I'm really excited about it. And I think the superintendent is going to help continue to usher this in. I think the investigation is going to happen and happen pretty quickly. We're going to get the results and then we'll see what other changes have to happen. But I'm excited about VMI. I just wanted to end the conversation. Someone said, does VMI have a place in today's society? And I said, absolutely. We are the premier military institution. We are a laboratory of leadership, and we produce people who lead battalions and boardrooms. I think it's the best military college in the country. So trying to quell those conversations and help to move VMI forward, that's ultimately what I'm trying to do. And I'm happy the interim superintendent will do that.
Thank you for that. I want to go ahead and start our meeting. Then for those of you who are just chiming in live on our YouTube channel, we're talking in a casual conversation with Delegate Foy, who is a candidate for the 2021 governor's race. And she was just opening up about her appreciation of VMI, but also, we have to make some positive changes. So that's all great. I want to go ahead and officially start our meeting. And so I am going to share my screen, and let's see if I can do this correctly. Sometimes it's a little tricky. And it is there. I can now present, I think, as best I can. So will everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? So rise if you can. I have the flag here. And let's say our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the
of the
United States
of America, and to the
and
republic
to the republic for which
for
it
for which it
stands,
stands, one
one
nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to stop share now, and hopefully that takes us back to our screen. If you are not speaking, it's advised that you put your speaker on mute. Otherwise, your face is going to be what is seen on the camera. And so that's just something to be aware of. And I'm not sure who I have on right now. I'm trying to go through all of our speakers. Give me just a second. Okay. And so for people who are concerned about the election, we did a great job. We got out the vote. It's exciting statewide, district-wide, and even in our own county. I ran some numbers back in 2004. We had 13,941 people who voted for Democrats. In 2020, we had 25,307 people who voted for Democrats. We went from 25% of the county voting democratically to 35.66 voting democratically. That may seem small to us living in this county, but for people who have major races, those numbers add up. You know, if we add up 5,000 here, 5,000 there, 5,000 somewhere else, it makes a big difference. And so I'm very thankful for all the volunteers, everyone that has showed up. It's just exciting to see, and so I just wanted people to know that, you know, we're making a difference. If you really want to help Biden make, you know, major changes, we need to support the Democrats who are running in the runoff and the special elections in Georgia. That's Ossoff and Warnock. Please donate to their campaigns as much as you can, as often as you can. There should be in the chat, somebody should put in the chat the links to their websites to donate to them directly. That would be great. If you have any political
It's on there
signs,
now.
thank you. If you have any political signs and you aren't sure how to recycle them, bring them to my house. I don't care that it's public knowledge, 100 Dewey Street. You can give out my cell phone, 804-647-9958. It's fine. I'm no longer afraid of the crazies who call me and accuse me of being Marxist or whatever. You know, we're Democrats. You know, we support our community. I love the flag. Honestly, I think the most patriotic thing a person can do is pay taxes. I've had this discussion with many of my children. I honestly do. I don't know anybody who brags about not paying their tithes at church, or anybody who's asking the church to ask for less money. I've never heard of stuff like that. So, you know, I don't know how you can support your troops. I don't know how you can support the schools, the roads, unless people pay their fair share. And we should all meet our obligations. I've never met somebody who brags about not paying child support. I don't understand that. Like, so paying taxes is a good thing. It's not bad. It's patriotic. And so, you know, that's, I'll get off my soapbox and introduce our special guests. We actually have two special guests. One is a member of ourselves, Szari, and another is a greater member of our entire state, Delegate Jennifer Carroll Foy. So our guest speaker is the Virginia House Delegate Jennifer Carroll Foy. Delegate Foy graciously has taken on the role as foster parent of two twin boys, along with her husband, Jeff. The two of them met at VMI, where Delegate Foy is among the first African-American women to graduate. She staunchly supported the Equal Rights Amendment, teacher retention, and Medicaid expansion. In the words of her grandmother, if you have it, you have to give it. Well, Delegate Foy is certainly someone who is giving all that she has. Please welcome Delegate Foy, candidate for Governor 2021.
Hi everyone. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here. I am Delegate Jennifer Carroll Foy, and I represent Prince William and Stafford in the Virginia House of Delegates. And yes, I'm running for governor. And so thank you for that amazing introduction. And just one little tweak. So I was a foster mom for 8 years. However, those cute 3-year-old identical twin boys, I carried. And so
My apologies there.
don't worry,
Sorry.
you have the proof to show it. So yes. But yes, thank you for letting me be here to speak with you all this morning. So never did I imagine that I would be launching and running my gubernatorial campaign in the midst of a global pandemic. But COVID-19 has exposed what was already beneath the surface, that too many Virginians can't earn a decent paycheck, afford their medical bills, or get ahead. And I understand the challenges that Virginia families face because I live them. As a working mom with 2 jobs, my husband and I raise our 2 3-year-olds while straddled with student loan debt and paying a second mortgage every month called childcare. So many people ask, when did my race for governor start? And it didn't start recently. It started a long time ago. It started being born and raised in Petersburg, Virginia. And for those of you who don't know, Petersburg has one of the highest child poverty rates of unaccredited schools, and was named one of the most dangerous places to live per capita in the Commonwealth. And that's where I'm from. But luckily, I was raised by my grandparents, and especially my grandmother, Mary, a Christian woman who had me in church 3 days a week, who taught me that my price for my time here on earth is my service to others, that if I have it, I have to give it. And so I don't remember a time we didn't have someone from the community or the church who fell on hard times living with us. I thought that's what everyone did. So I'll never forget her having a stroke and becoming a quadriplegic. And at a young age, having to have a seat at the dining room table with my aunt, trying to decide if we're going to pay for our mortgage that month or for the medications keeping my grandmother alive. Those are the type of challenges that Virginia families face. And I remember looking around then and noticing that I was a part of one of those communities that had been left behind. That not all little girls are told that they can be anything when they grow up. So I said to myself then, and I told others, that I will make a change. I will make it so no other little girl have to make these type of impossible decisions between a roof over her head or keeping her caregiver alive. And my grandmother dedicated her life to serving others, working at Central State Mental Health Hospital. But when she needed medications, we couldn't afford it. And people said, well, what are you going to do? Who do you know? You're just a poor girl from Petersburg. But let me tell you something, that if a poor girl from Petersburg can go on to become the next legislator to expand Medicaid to over 460,000 Virginians, then I'm here to tell you that that's why I'm running for governor. Because change can happen and change is what's needed. There are too many Virginians when I travel this Commonwealth who are still struggling and hurting. I met a young man in Chesterfield who told me how he's working 40 hours a week and bringing home $14,000 a year and trying to raise a family of 4 on those wages. I could tell you about the woman I met in Page County who told me how she has to travel 11 miles every day, each way, to take her daughter to the local restaurant so she can do her homework because they don't have access to the internet. And these are the stories of so many Virginians. Because when I go to places like Petersburg and Portsmouth and Pulaski and Danville, there's so many communities that have been ignored, neglected, and left behind. The wealthy and the powerful and the well-to-do have had a lot of support, a lot of representation in Richmond. And now it's time for someone to represent all Virginians. I'm running for governor to ensure that no community is left behind. I have a plan to ensure that we deploy high-speed internet to every corner of the Commonwealth, to bring diverse, high-paying jobs everywhere, because people have seen their last paycheck and don't know when their next one's coming. Jobs such as nanotech and robotics and automotive systems, and expanding telemedicine and telehealth in a real way. And I will be the public education governor, fully funding education here to assure that our children are going to well-funded and safe schools. Because I went to one of those schools that didn't have, and I had to watch as I didn't have books to take home, unlicensed teachers in my classroom, where right across the bridge in Colonial Heights, they had the best of technology, the best of schools, and the best of teachers. So if we're really going to make a change, if we're really going to do something different, we don't do that by recycling the same old politicians and policies. We do that by electing a new leader with a clear vision and fresh ideas on how to move Virginia forward. So some people may say, well, Jen, we feel like you haven't been in Richmond that long. And that's true. I'm not a career politician. And that's exactly why I'm running. Because I've been in Richmond long enough to know that it's not working, that too many politicians are out of touch with the people, and special interest groups still have a stronghold on Richmond, stifling progress. And so that's what this is about. Now is our time. Now is our time to move Virginia forward in a real way, because we need a leader who's right for this moment. Someone who will help us defeat this invisible enemy called COVID-19, someone who will help us quickly and safely open our schools and our economy, and what's most important is getting Virginians back to work. So I am excited about this opportunity. I'm excited to not only help change the face of what leadership in Virginia looks like, but also ensure that we are not only the best place to do business, but the best place to live, work, and raise a family. But I can only do that with your help and support. And I can tell you, when I was growing up, never did I think that, Hanover would be a place where there will be a serious Democratic presence. But I could tell you, just like Virginia, Hanover and everywhere is changing. And we demand change to follow us, because we are that party who's going to uplift everyone and bring the values that Virginia needs and Virginia wants. So I want to tell you all, thank you. Thank you. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes and stand up for the people of Virginia. And my question is, will you stand with me? So I guess I'll stop there and see if anyone has any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that opening. I open the floor now to people who would like to ask questions of Delegate Foy. Just unmute and ask, and we'll make it about 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll move on to Lou. Also, Delegate Foy, I know you're a busy woman, and but we would love for you to stay on after the call, even, because sometimes people have a more organic conversation that's not recorded, and that way they can actually interact. But I'll leave it up to you. Don't feel obligated, but I will promptly end the call at 11. People can get off or they can stay on, but we won't be recorded. Just giving people a heads up on that. Okay, floor is open for questions.
I have a comment. Hopefully it was recorded that I asked Jennifer a pop question that was before her morning coffee. And I hope it's recorded because her answer was excellent. From the heart, unrehearsed, and I hope everybody hears it. Thank you, Jennifer.
Half of it was recorded. I was in the process of recording. I don't have your question recorded, but I do have most of her comment. So if Jennifer wants, if you want to ask the question again, you're right. It might be long, but basically, I think what she said was, and I'm pretty sure I got the gist of, VMI is making positive changes, and VMI was what has helped shape who we have in Delegate Foy now, and she's thankful for the experience, but also actively looking to make greater progress. So, but she said much more eloquently than I am, and so yeah, I do appreciate that.
Well, I won't ask it again because I hate trying to recreate my first thoughts, and I never do it very well. I'm sure she'll have that question many, many times. And I just wanted to say that I thought the answer was excellent. Thank you. Jennifer, you're muted.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Were there other people on the call? We have Councilmember Hodges. Do you have questions for Delegate Foy?
Thanks, Dan. I haven't had my coffee either. No,
Nothing like throwing it to you right away, right?
no, but I've been receiving emails from Delegate Foy, and it's great to associate a face with the messages we got during the campaign. It's hard to focus on next year when you're just trying to think about this year. But I appreciated that contact and look forward to more. Thank you.
Awesome. Will do. Thank you.
We had talked about the redistricting commission before. Do you feel that good things will come out of it?
Out of the redistricting.
Redistricting commission? You think it'll be a honest? Do you think good things will come out of it?
I am I'm a forever optimist, and I hope so. But my experiences is that it's just very difficult for oftentimes legislators to help themselves. And when you have an opportunity to draw preferential lines for you or your friends or your seatmates and things like that, I mean, history has shown us that it has happened. And you have the 8 citizens that's there, but they are actually like appointed by those people too. And so it's hard. So we have to have those strong perimeters in place that will ensure that we have diversity across the board. But I I will be optimistic and say that the people have spoken. So I think now we just have to make it the best we can possibly make it. I am a little concerned when it goes to the Republican, majority Republican appointed Supreme Court, because as we all know, Democrats, we don't do well when our elections have to be decided by judges, i.e. Josh Cole, who lost his previous election by a handful of votes when almost 200 votes, incorrect ballots were given to his constituents, right? And the judge refused, Republican appointed judge refused to take that up. And i.e. Shelley Simon, remember the name out of the bowl. So where we could have had the majority, a couple sessions ago. So that is my concern. That is definitely my concern. Then you have the separation of powers issue, and it's just it's so many things. And so moving forward, I think we just make it the best, situation that we possibly can. And I'm going to be optimistic. And so if it comes back and it's not what it should be, or they can't agree, then the special master will hopefully step in and be able to draw the lines. And we have the majority now. So we didn't do, poorly when the lines were drawn correctly, because as we said, the demographics in Virginia are changing and it's becoming a lot bluer. And I think even, a lot more progressive in its thought process. So I think hopefully great things will happen.
Did you say the special master may intervene, but he won't intervene after the Supreme Court makes a decision? Is that right?
Yeah, so the special master, so once it goes to the Supreme Court of Virginia, then they have control of what happens to our districts. And so they should, and they supposed to get a special master to come in and draw the lines. And then that's the maps that we will move forward with. And so I think as long as they are not drawing the lines, as long as you don't have we don't have justices of the Supreme Court of Virginia sitting in a room drawing a line, I think we're in a good spot. But it goes to a special master, which is good.
Are there things that the special session or whatever bills passed or whatever to make it more diverse, the citizens group?
Yes, there is enabling legislation, and I believe in enabling legislation, we're hashing these things out, whether or not, like putting the language in there that it's mandatory for the Supreme Court to appoint a special master. That's what they must do. And also writing in there how the diversity of the 8 appointees, the citizen appointees, will be determined. So diversity of socioeconomic status, race, religion, all of those things. So all of those things are being hashed out now because we just don't want, surrogates of other legislators being those citizens. And so that's what we're really trying to prevent at this point.
So that's being hashed out now and will be in effect before those 8 people are appointed?
That's what we have to figure out. So typically when we pass legislation, it's not valid until July 1st of every year. If we want immediate passage or passage faster, we have to put that language in the budget. If you put, you can legislate through the budget in Virginia. So if you put it in the budget and then once the governor signs off of it on it, then it can become immediate. And so that's what you want to have happen, preferably. But the thing is that, we get our census results usually in February or March. And right after we get our census results, that's when this body should convene and start drawing our maps. Because ideally, we have our primaries in June. That is another conversation we're having, because it's likely that the House of Delegate races might be pushed back until August, because we just don't know that we'll have the census data in time. We don't know if this redistricting commission will be able to draw the lines, agree upon a map in time. And if not, it goes to the Supreme Court. They have a special master draw it, and all those things to be ready in time for people to have their signatures in and their lines, set for June. It sounds almost like an impossibility. So I'm pretty much 70% sure that the House of Delegate races will be probably pushed back until August. Now the statewide races, our races aren't dependent on the census data or on redistricting. So statewide races will likely be in June, while the House of Delegate races will likely be in August.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Jennifer. We've met a few times over the course of my runs for House of Delegates in the 55th district. So I am pretty familiar with, most of your policies. I've heard you speak a couple of times, and you certainly are fantastic. And so I just wanted to ask, now that you're running for governor, what are your thoughts about statewide environmental policies? My background is in environmental policy, and so it's one of the issues that I don't feel gets enough attention. But what are you thinking as far as your environmental policies running for governor?
Yes, it's great to see you. And yeah, thank you for that question. So I was excited the chief co-patron the Virginia Clean Economy Act, making Virginia the first Southern state to have 100% zero carbon emissions standard. So that is phenomenal. I am also planning on carrying not the eviction moratorium, but the moratorium on fossil fuels this upcoming session. So that way we don't have to continue to fight for these new fossil fuel projects and saying how they're unnecessarily they're not needed or unnecessary, because our energy needs in Virginia have been flat. So there's really no need to continue to build more dirty fossil fuel projects. And so carrying the moratorium on fossil fuels is something I'm really excited about going forward. If I don't get it done as delegate, I will get it done as governor. Some of the other projects I'm working on, or some of the things I want to see happen, is the money from RGGI, the credits that the polluters have to pay. A large percentage of money has to go to our Hampton Roads area to help address sea level rise and coastal flooding that they are experiencing, and to help fund some of their resiliency plans, because we have the largest Navy base in the world, and it's a national security issue, and not enough conversations are really being had about that and what to do about it, because the price tag is just so exorbitant. But it must be addressed, because in the next several years, parts of Hampton Roads will be underwater, and it's expected to have at least 1.5 to 3 feet of increase if we don't act, pretty quickly. Some of the other things that I look forward to doing is addressing agricultural runoff. And one of the ways to do that is by ensuring that we're making the investments in tree canopies, that we are making the investments in giving cover crops, cash for cover crops for farms, ensuring that they can build those barriers with trees and other plants and things like that, who will absorb a lot of that runoff from cows and animals and things like that, that's getting into our waterways and that's polluting our river streams. And we have to immediately address those things. So those are just some of the things that I look forward to doing as governor. And I'm also in conversations. I've had a panel conversation with over 20 solar energy developers in the country, and said, what do I have to do to get you here faster? We need those clean energy jobs, because my coal miners are about to be out of work and Southwest Virginians are hurting. So I am now looking to actually get the funds to help build out some of our community colleges, to help train, because you don't have to have a 4-year or 2-year degree, but you do need the training to be able to train Virginians, our people, in building offshore and onshore wind facilities and solar panels. So it's a great infrastructure project that'll help get Virginians to work, bring in additional jobs and money to Virginia, and help move us towards addressing climate change, which is a national security issue and the greatest existential crisis that we have. So those are just some of my plans, and I look forward to doing even more.
This is Catherine. I have a question for you. I feel like we are a very, very divided country, and certainly Virginia is a microcosm of that. And how do you plan to combat not just the division, but the misinformation and the lack of factual, ideas that are being spread and believed by many people in this country that make it next to impossible to convince them of the truth. And just, how do you plan to tackle that? What are your ideas on how we can come together as a country?
Yeah, so Catherine, that's a really great question. And you're right. We're in a climate where facts don't matter, and it is very frustrating. I remember a time with Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, and they were on opposite sides. They will battle it out and then go have, dinner afterward, because the idea is to move us forward. How we get there may change. How we fund it may be different, but it's all about getting things done, and decency and civility and gentility and collegiality are important. And so, yes, that is a problem, because even for me, working across the aisle, sometimes I'll get comments like, why are you even including them? We're in the majority. And I remind people, well, they represent millions of people too. So it's important to have stakeholders at the table, including other legislators who, are on the other side. That's how we do that and build those bridges that have really been torn down. So I can tell you that I pull on my experiences. So as a former public defender representing people 100% below the poverty line, I am used to being in rooms where I have no friends. The judge don't care for me. The prosecutor don't care for me. Sometimes my client is a problem, and don't trust me, calling me like a public pretender, which was one of my favorite terms. Or can I pay you and hire a real lawyer? I love that one too. So, that has helped me, become dogged and never take no for an answer, and able to get things done no matter what happens. So how I think about it now is, when I am talking to, let's say, for instance, people in the public, or Republicans on the other side, I ask myself, is this a Trump supporter or is this a Trump voter? I believe that we can get the Trump voter. I don't think we'll ever be able, or nor do we want the Trump supporter. Okay. They're operating in a different reality. So for me, if you can sign up, which unfortunately 71 million people did, for a man who had no second term plan, who, Stormy Daniels, kids in cages, economy in the tank, and you still think that's a good idea. I mean, it's just hard to reconcile that, right? So you have the Trump voter, which I'm sorry, Trump supporter, which I don't think we'll ever get. The Trump voter, I do. And I know many of them. So I know them because they call themselves people without a party. Or those are the ones who lied to the pollsters while the polls are so off. They're the ones who refuse to even acknowledge, because they were so embarrassed that they were Republicans, right? And so I think we can win them over by showing we have options, right? You have options, and we have decency and civility and those Christian principles you hold so tight. Well, those are the values of the Democratic Party: to house the homeless and feed the hungry. And that's what this is about. And so I think once we speak to them and, talk to them about our economic and jobs plan, talk to them about how we want to protect healthcare, we want their kids to go to safe and well-funded schools, things we can all agree on. We have to start focusing on the things that bring us together and not the things that divide us. I think that will actually, I know that will work, because in 2017, when I ran for the House of Delegates, I had, as a down ballot race, more votes than the governor, lieutenant governor, and the attorney general. And that's because I talk to everyone, because I'm not partisan to be partisan, and I'm not divisive to be divisive. And I focus on the things that we all agree on, what we all want, and on unification, because that's important. And I know that I will be the governor of all Virginians, not just the ones who voted for me, and definitely not just Democrats. And I think that's the type of leader we have to have going into the governor's mansion. They have to be that type of person.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. This is Terry Diebold. can you tell me what kinds of plans are in the works or what you would plan to do to attract more businesses to the state to provide jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's a great question. And so my plan is to zealously continue to advocate for Virginia. So I'm talking to, and I'm in constant conversations with Virginia Economic Development Partnership. What I did this last special session is put a budget amendment to put millions of dollars for job skills training and workforce development, because I think that the people, it's a fallacy to believe that people are going to be able to go right back to every job that they left pre-pandemic, because our economic environment will look totally different on the other side of this, and we have to be prepared for it. And so, for example, when you walk into a McDonald's, you have those kiosks that's there. Those kiosks now have taken the job of 2, 3 prior employees. They are now in south and west part of the country doing tests for automotive trucking. So a lot of our truckers are going to be out of jobs in the next couple of years. We have to prepare our people for the 21st century jobs, and we have to bring those jobs to Virginia. So what I am doing is I am investing in site preparedness. One of the number one reasons why we don't have more businesses headquarters coming to Virginia is because they want to open in 3 years, and the properties we have that's available are only ready in, for example, 5. Well, then they go somewhere else. So we have to invest in site preparedness here in Virginia. So when a company comes and they want to look at a potential place where they can do business, that we have it available and we're ready to go. So it's about priming property and land and technology in a way that we anticipate these businesses coming, and we do everything we can to get them here. And then when we get them here, that they can open in the timeline that they need to open. The second thing that I'm doing is, like I said, invest in the job skills training and workforce development. It's called the Talent Accelerator Program. And what it does is, Virginia, we say, hey, business, come here. And one of the things we will do is that we will train our workers for your positions and get them ready to go. And so putting millions of dollars towards that is something that these businesses look for, that we not only have an educated and skilled workforce, but they are job skills ready and trained for that specific job, because that's money that they now save. So putting $1 million towards that helps, makes us more attractive. And not only doing these things, but marketing is also important. We have to do better at marketing Virginia as one of the best places to do business. We have a very attractive tax rate. Our corporate taxes are low. We have a skilled, educated workforce. Our infrastructure is good. We still improving, but we were the number one place to do business, and we can continue to do that while also being one of the best places to live, work, and raise a family. And so it's about site preparedness, it's about marketing, and it's also about improving our infrastructure to get these businesses here. And one of the reasons I cannot get the businesses that we need to in places like Opportunity Zones and Southwestern Rural Virginia is because of lack of broadband. Manufacturers need access to the internet. And so that will be the key to unlock some of the issues that we have here in Virginia. And the digital divide has not been addressed in a real way. So once I can get access to the internet, and I have a plan to do that, then we can get more of these businesses in places that need it. So people who want to stay in Southwest Virginia can do that because they enjoy the culture, they enjoy being there, and they can work and live where they are. I mean, these are just some of the things that can be done. So site preparedness, things such as continuing to market, investing more in international business. We're the bottom third for international business in this country, and we can definitely, and we will do better. And we have to actively seek out those jobs to come to Virginia. And marketing to have these package deals, these economic incentives to let these businesses such as robotics, nanotech, telemedicine, telehealth, let them know that Virginia is open and ready for business, and marketing heavily and strongly to attract them, to get them here, and also investing more in job skills training and workforce development.
Basically,
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Foy. Sorry, I have some people that unmuted, and sorry, I think I accidentally muted you, Delegate Foy. I didn't mean to.
No worries.
I appreciate you. You've got a wealth of information. I'm hoping you'll stay on and continue the conversation once we stop the call. I do want to bring on Szari to get an update for what has happened for us in our local elections. It was a pretty exciting event, and now I think it's going to be like election month instead of election day, and there's going to be all sorts of things. So I hope you stay on. If you have to leave, I understand that too, but I appreciate your time.
No worries. I can be here till 11.
Okay, thanks. All right, so I'm going to bring on Lou. Can you give us some updates on the recent elections?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I can give you some updates. Oh my God, we lost Ashland, we lost Berkeley to Trump. That's most of the fear that I got the day after the election. And what I need to do is compliment all of you on the work you've done to get people to vote early. The military, they've got a saying that we own the night. Well, folks, as Democrats, we own early voting. We own absentee voting. Yes, yeah, oh, that pays off. And what I get to look at is only the numbers. This election, I made an effort to make anonymous contact with a lot of voters in line. And later on, I can give some perspectives on that. The biggest difference this election, we can use as a watermark for how our county breaks down by red and blue teams. We had 86% of Hanover voters vote this time around. Unheard of. I have some precincts that were 89%. Atlee. That gets us down to those 10% of the voters that will never come out to vote. So folks, if they're breathing, if they've got a heartbeat, they voted. The thing that is very deceptive about this election is at the end of election day, the numbers are reported to the media, and they traditionally say, "Oh my God, that's the unofficial count." Well, these are some percentages. I remember the time that it was 3 Republicans to every Democrat. Actually, it was more than 3 Republicans for every Democrat. As of right now, with the early voting, it was 1 1/4 Republicans for every Democrat. That's huge. That puts it within the range of a total turnout election. If they get bored or they get tired or they get COVID, we can carry by our turnout. On election day, I've got multiple spreadsheets in front of me, so it looks like I'm frantic that I'm finding the numbers. On election day, it was 1 3/4 Republicans for every Democrat. They controlled election day. These are things that we knew the Democrats were going to take care of the mail-in, Republicans were going to carry election day. The media reported election day. I got panic calls through various people. And what I had to point out is that what is different for this election is that what was central absentee, it was a small percentage of our voters, is 1 precinct where if Aunt Tilly got sick and she had to vote, that would go in. Those votes are totaled by that precinct, just like your precinct has its totals. I do not at this point have the spreadsheet which breaks out central absentee into the specific precincts so we can get a better idea of what each precinct is doing. So that is a very different thing. Another very different thing is observing how the voters have responded over the course of 45 days of voting. Our candidates need to know that the early vote is locked up and they can then focus their thoughts on the vote that is not there, that they haven't convinced yet. The voting center, people really loved it. It was like walking into a bank and you talk to a teller, they give you your piece of paper, you mark your mark, you drop it in the box. Everyone was thrilled with that. Our precincts, however, are framed on a different feel. Back in the day, it was your neighbors behind the paper poll books that were going, hi, come on in, welcome, how are you? Yes, John, how are you voting this year? It's a very warm and homey. With the COVID and our president, there is a different kind of pressure. People don't respond as affirmatively to the down home little old lady neighbor, registering you to vote. And they are much happier with the more formalized banking center for voting. People that went to the precincts see, oh my God, there's tons and tons of ways for people to cheat. There was one wizened old man who, oh God, I don't know how he was still standing on his own, but he came into the voting center furious. He was talking all the time about the most corrupt, election ever in American history. And there was nothing that anyone could say that could change his mind. He has been steeped in Hannity for years now and only believes, and that reinforces what he believes. So his cup of tea was already set. This election, I learned that once a person hits the polling booth, there is no use wasting spit to talk to them. They have made up their mind. I didn't run into anyone at a polling station or a voting center that went, oh, I really don't know who I'm going to vote for. No, they knew. And, they said, oh, I'm voting for our president. We've got to finish the job. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let's vote him out and finish the slob. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But we need to understand that, yeah, it's divided, but we need to focus on our folk. I have provided a spreadsheet to Daniel, and I hope it'll become made available, which gives us the daily numbers, the by precinct numbers and a few other things. At the voting center, 700 people a day came through that on average. For curbside voting, which is where you drive up and you can talk out the car window, we were getting 60 a day, which is a good number. The drop box that we had installed where somebody could drive by at midnight and drop off their ballot, we've got over 3,000 ballots were cast through the drop box. We have now gone to that new era of early voting. It will never go away. The voters love it. Let's see, what else? Okay. Sitting around with a calculator and playing with these charts. In Virginia, there is 1.25 Republicans for 1.25 Democrats for every Republican. We win the state, of course. In this election in Hanover, President Joe, we got 35.66%, and Donald got 62.45. So that is the breakdown, and we have gained on them, of course. It is no longer 2-1. It's less than 2-1. Thank you. Congratulations. Interesting. That was 1.75, the difference from red to blue on the president. For Warner, he got 37.4% and Gade got 62. So Warner, for the public, was a stronger candidate and more persuasive, a couple 3% higher than our presidential candidate. Rashid got 21.9, call it 22%. So his campaign was the weakest of the three noticeably. As it all averages out across those elections, it was 1.867, the numbers divide out. percent as an average for the Democratic candidates. Okay. I will happily answer any questions, and I will stay till, you guys get tired and, go away and go visit families or have turkey. Something that is coming up. Yes, we owned the absentee ballot. On December 15th, the election office is mailing out 5,460 absentee ballot things. People that requested an absentee ballot, they can check off that they're Democrats. They can check off that they are, they want absentee ballots for all the elections. If they do that, if a person then responds to the absentee annual renewal letter, we can continue to control the absentee ballot world. That needs to be pushed. That is a strong Democratic statement. The votes are in, and it doesn't matter if you get sick or it's snowing or you come down with COVID, your vote is in. I strongly recommend that the HDC get behind answering it and mailing it back and knowing that you will get a ballot that they should vote and turn in rapidly. Many people this election became afraid of the mail system with all of that kerfluffle. Many people received their absentee ballot at home and said, I don't know. They didn't know about the drop box, and they came into the voting center or their precinct and said, I had an absentee, but I lost it. And it's on the refrigerator or under the desk. It's there. We know you got it. Those folks then had to file provisional ballots. A provisional ballot means we've got to check to make certain that you didn't mail in your absentee ballot, that you didn't vote back at your home precinct. It takes a good bit of office time, staff time, to make certain that you haven't voted. Before we then, there's a special meeting that is open to the public, that if it is the ballot disqualified or is it qualified? We had 300 some ballots that needed to be discussed. Some people, I don't know how they can do this. They go to a voting precinct, they probably had to drive, and they say, oh, I don't have any ID. Okay, I don't believe that personally, but I have to accept what the voter says. They are given a provisional ballot and they are given a sheet of paper that says, before noon on the Friday after the election, you've got to present your data. Out of all of those provisionals needing ID, we got one person that sent us. So most people that say, oh, provisional didn't have an ID, they just don't want to be embarrassed. And their votes don't count. They become disqualified.
Lou, let me pause right there because I want to make sure we end on time. And also, I want to know if there's going to be any, I want to give Delegate Foy one last closing statement, if she will. But first, I want to let people know, we're going to come back to you, Lou. There's going to be no women's coffee, no men's forum throughout the holidays. We'll start back up in January. That is spend time with your family. I have 3 new applicants to join our committee. Caleb Reiner, Robert King, and Kristen Arnoldi. Is there a motion to add them?
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Excellent. They are in. Is there a motion to adjourn our meeting? I'm not leaving the meeting. I'm just going to stop recording.
Move we